Hey friends, welcome to another hobby stream. I'm Brett, and I have convinced Zach to produce a live stream and paint Battlefleet Gothic models with me today.
Well, it was
So here
easy
we
to
are.
do.
We are both Tau players, and so we both have a collection of Tau Battlefleet Gothic models that we're going to be painting here today on the show. We're going to be talking old, out of print Games Workshop games, painting old, out of print Games Workshop models, and generally having a good time. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
This is your first time getting your hands on some of these kits. Zach.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I am. So, the cool thing about these is that, so this game is out of print. I, as you guys know, can be a little bit of a GW fanboy, but when GW stops actually making the models, then I think all bets are off.
All bets are off. Yeah.
And so, Brett 3D printed me. We're going to talk about the designer of these. Brett 3D printed me about like a year, 18 months ago, maybe 2 years at this point.
I think it was during COVID. Yeah.
Okay, during COVID. He 3D printed me a bag of the new Tau Aeronautica.
Right, because Tau, we'll get to that in a sec. But,
get to that.
but Tau have two fleets in this game.
There's a lot to unpack. He 3D printed me a bunch. I'm actually very excited. I'm putting them on my short list on the other side this weekend when I get back from my trip. I'm putting them on my short list of priority along with Flesh Eater Quartz.
Yeah.
So he printed me out a bunch. I prepped 4.
Yep.
I don't know what any of these are. You have to tell me. And I've painted them. I've airbrushed them up in my normal Tau, my Tau 40K color scheme.
Yeah. Very soothing, lo-fi green,
mint green,
greens,
the mint
color,
green. Yeah.
Sort of my shirt color almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a custodian.
Yeah.
We'll get started into the lore here. So this is the two Tau fleets. This is the
and you can show anything
protection
off
fleet
on the close-up.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You want to switch this over? Okay. So this is the model that Zach's going to be working on. It is, it's the battleship for the Commerce Protection Fleet, and this is their sort of this has been featured in if you watched the Exodite. So this is the Tau Warhammer Plus animation. This is sort of the main spaceship in that animation. It's their battleship. It launches torpedoes, it launches attack craft, it shoots big guns, it does all the things. It's got 3 shields, which is really good. It's got 6+ front armor, which is really good. And
that's good.
Yeah, you want higher armor.
Okay. Hey, I have a question for you. Can we real quick show every 40K player will know this is also a little eyelash, kind of disgusting. Okay. Might be yours, might be mine. I don't know. All right. Anyway, every 40K player will be able to kind of get a size reference of a manta.
Oh, yeah.
Can you show a manta next to this thing?
So this is an interesting... Yes, I will. But this is an interesting also exercise. So here's a manta. However, the attack craft models in this game, the mantas and the which is a bomber, and the barracudas, which are fighters. So I'll put three barracudas there, are in a vastly different scale than the capital ships.
Oh, so this isn't even
not even the same scale.
So are they
the
too
mantas,
big or too small?
They're these models are too big.
Oh my gosh.
So those mantas are meant to come out of these. These are the ports that the attack craft fly out of.
These mantas come out of
mantas come out of there. Yeah, like many mantas at once.
Not barracudas.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So so I think I've done some math, and this ship would have to be 5 times larger. The model would have to be 5 times larger to be sort of in the same scale as these attacks.
He just had that queued up, folks.
Yeah.
He came in he didn't prep for that.
We didn't even talk about this.
He didn't prep for this episode. This
is me hobbying my hobby. I've just got that. All right. You know, switch this back.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, so that's what you're going to be working on. I have... So we mentioned that there are 2 Tau fleets, and the other, the one you're working on is the Commerce Protection Fleet.
Okay.
They're sort of dedicated warships. They were invented and built after the Tau encountered the Imperium in space, and they were like, oh crap, the other spacefaring races in this galaxy that we inhabit are terrifying.
Yeah.
We need something to not just instantly die. Before they had that realization,
kind of an interesting perspective.
Yeah,
if you think about it, the Tau actually bring that perspective, that because the humans had that perspective, right? That's what made the Emperor be like, all right, let's just wipe everything out.
Right. Yeah. The humans were like very quick to sort of realize before they encountered anyone else that they were just a warlike species.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Tau went into space very naively. And so the fleet that you're painting up are their dedicated warships that they invented after they sort of encountered humanity and Tyranids and orcs and were like, oh, wait, this galaxy is not what we thought it was. But before that, before they had encountered these races, they built spaceships to sort of, their first foray into the galaxy were these colonization ships. And so it's a completely separate fleet design. They're sort of cargo haulers almost. You can we think of them as like space trucks.
So there is lore behind the different designs.
There is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know what? That makes me appreciate the first wave more. To be honest with you,
they're very. They were built for a different purpose, which is colonization. And then occasionally they would strap some guns to them just because why not? But like, they were initially built for a very different purpose.
They also, and this is going to sound kind of silly, and I'm kind of joking, but I'm also kind of not. Like, one of them is sort of like what you wear to like shoot hoops in the backyard.
Right, yeah.
Right? And then that's before they knew what was going on. And then once they encountered the other races, they're like, hey guys, we should also make ourselves look cool.
We should make ourselves look cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the colonization fleet ships are very sort of practical looking. They just kind of have stuff strapped on all over them. Actually, you want to switch back to the
yes.
So this is called a merchant. It is a trading ship. This is an explorer. It's a colonization ship, and so you can see these big like cargo bays that are sort of strapped on for hauling different things. Of these different ships, this one is called the Hero, which Polychrome and Chad is mentioning. This is the most sort of warlike of the ships in this fleet. It has actual guns.
Hey, it
has actual armor.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Are either of these? I'm actually very excited, so I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, Brett.
No,
I realize that
you can go back to front.
Getting this in my hand and starting to paint this is. I told you I was excited coming into this because I was airbrushing them, and now I'm like even. Are any of these Nisakar or Demiurg?
No, these are all Tau. I mean,
is that not a thing?
Those ships exist.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't own any of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Nikasar, I think it's called.
Okay. Nikasar, okay.
And Demiurg are. They have ships in the Tau fleet. They, they're sort of allies in the same way that in 40K you can ally Kroot and Vespid. You can ally in these other races. But they only basically have one. That's not true. Demiurg have 2 ships, and Nikasar also have 2. But they're a pretty minor part. And generally speaking, I'm not a BFG pro. I'm not.
They're not good.
But they're not very good.
Okay, I have a question. Because we oh my, there's so many things to talk about. First of all, fascinating fact. And I believe that someone else might know this more than me, including you. Now that Votan are out, they have since realized both the Tau and the Imperium, knew who the Votan were,
right? And
kind of neither of them knew, like that they were working with the other one, right?
That the other one knew, yeah.
And nobody really knew what was going on.
Yeah.
But some Demiurg have allied with the Tau Empire, right?
Yeah.
And 40K have not quite made rules for this yet, and maybe they never will.
Right.
Maybe they're walking back. Maybe they're going to retcon that. They don't really do allies anymore in 40K. Am I correct in that?
They don't really do allies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think probably if they did,
like maybe the ally matrix.
Maybe
from
Votan.
editions.
Maybe Votan could be or whatever allied with Tau or whatever. But
yeah.
Okay. So this
sorry, I want to address Polychrome's question. I don't have a Kroot War Sphere.
Oh, I was going to ask you about this too. Yeah.
Yeah, the Kroot have one ship. It's called the War Sphere. It has really weird rules.
Sounds up my alley immediately.
It has really weird rules. It like can move it normally in BFG. So BFG is like a naval game essentially. Like your ships have momentum, they move forward, they can sort of turn, but they have to turn slowly. They have to move forward a certain distance before they can turn. There's all this like all these rules on like how you can make a turn happen. It's like not obvious. Kroot like don't do any of that. They can like sort of turn on a dime, but they have to go all ahead full in order to turn. It's weird. Their ship is a sphere. It's a war. Have you heard the term war sphere?
Yes, I've seen pictures. It looks cool too.
You've seen it, yeah.
Does this guy have a design of it?
There's GW made a model.
I know. I was gonna ask, does this guy?
Oh, I don't know. So this guy, Zach's referring to Italian Moose, who's the designer of the ships that he's painting.
Okay.
I don't think Italian Moose has a war sphere design. But that's an interesting question. Right. I just was on his cults page before the stream.
Without even playing a game, that's my first goal to
get a war sphere.
Is get a war sphere. I have seen pictures. It looks pretty cool.
It's a neat model.
It's like a sphere that's like with like some little spiky bits
every which way. Yeah. The weird thing.
I played Space Hulk Saw. It is fun. I
feel like the War Sphere suffers from the same problem that Kroot and 40k suffer from, which is to say that the Tau as a faction are meant to be the faction without melee, and they were like, oh, but you can bring Kroot if you want melee. But by definition, they can't make the melee too good because then they're a shooting faction that also has a decent melee option. And they kind of did the same thing in 40k, or in BFG rather. They're like Tau don't do boarding actions, Tau don't do teleport attacks. If you want to do those things, here's a Kroot. But we can't make the Kroot too good because if they were also good at boarding actions, then you just have like a fully formed fleet that could be good at everything except for then these Tau ships were amazing at shooting.
I guess in theory, and I was feeling this a little bit. Back when I was playing ninth. Right. You remember I had my Dala list. I was really enjoying it. And I felt like I was getting pretty decent at it. And I did finally feel like I was able to like shoot a unit with like, say, missile sides, smart missiles that are hitting on 5.
Yeah.
Like have the number of models in the unit, and the next turn have the Kroot show up and like finish him off.
Right, sure. Yeah.
So I guess in theory, like does Battlefleet Gothic have the availability to like weaken a ship with the Tau and then the Kroot do the thing?
Yeah.
Because that's actually what is supposed to happen,
I think
right?
so, yeah.
Interesting.
And weirdly, the Tau in Battlefleet Gothic are not a shooting fleet. They don't have great guns. Polychrome, you mentioned 12 lances, 6 torpedoes, and 2 launch bays. Someone is cheating you. A hero has 4 lances, not 12.
or Poly is cheating.
And Poly doesn't play Tau. I'm imagining he's being shot at by somebody. A hero has 4 lances at 30 centimeters, 4 weapon batteries, which are essentially incidental, maybe strip a shield. It's got a little bit of everything because it has the 2 launch bays and it has 6 torpedoes. But yeah, and the main reason you use it is for the lances. Honestly, it's lances are good in this game. So,
Brett, real quick, can I do a little hobby chat for a second?
Yes.
And pass you something to show. I guess I should have done this on the same model rather than 2 different models because I have 2 of these. Okay. But I just want to show you guys, like, this is kind of the step 1 whenever I paint my Tau.
Yeah.
I do this after I do all the airbrushing. I do this panel lining, and so you can see the emissary.
The emissary here. Yeah.
Oh no, the emissary has not had.
This one's not
panel
down.
line.
Yeah.
And then I use purple, so I purple line. I do a purple Druchii violet into the panels.
Yeah,
and it
looks great.
That's that.
This one. So this is called the emissary, and it's like a. And do you know the Corvette, the Corellian Corvette in Star Wars that Princess Leia was riding in the opening of A New Hope when Darth Vader shows up?
I mean, yes, more or less.
This is that Corellian Corvette. It's like the capital ship that a dignitary that's like meant to go on diplomatic missions takes to like get around to other planets and forge trading relationships.
Okay.
And then this one is called a protector. So this is a dedicated warship that
And as you can see, that's the one that the tower
punches face.
This is the one that the tower guys, we need our stuff to look cool.
Yeah, we care about aesthetics here.
We care about aesthetics.
Yeah.
Okay,
right, cool.
thanks, Brett.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry, I did cut you off. Do you remember what you were about to say?
Oh, I was just commenting that Polychrome is getting cheated on.
Yeah.
If he's getting shot at by 12 lances from a 180 point hero, it's a little bit much. Yeah, I don't know what. I mean, maybe if somebody has 3 heroes, but honestly, unless you're playing, the problem with the heroes, and it's a great ship. I love it. It's my favorite in the fleet.
Expensive?
But it's not. No, it's actually pretty reasonably priced. The issue is that there's an restriction on it in the fleet list, so you can only bring 1 for each other capital ship that you bring. So in order to bring 3 heroes, you have to have 3 other capital ships.
So now that's expensive.
And so now you're talking about you really can't. So I'm getting these models ready for Adepticon. Adepticon plays games at 1350. And the event is 1350 points, and you really can't fit 6 capital ships in 1350. You just kind of can't. So it's kind of an issue. Yeah, that's kind of the issue.
Molecule, thank you for your support.
Molecule.
He says Bartok later. Bartok our cat. Who the hell moved my eyelash? Yeah, I last night I finished painting. Brett, I'm going to put you.
You're getting ready for travel. Yeah.
I'm getting ready for travel. There you go. Is that
yep,
good spot for you? Okay. Yeah, last night I finished painting my Nighthaunt army to take the Rocky Mountain Open, and I had him on the table here overnight, and I feel like Bartok got up on the table and messed with him a little bit. Nothing fell on the floor. He's done this before. But I'm glad so we actually the chairs you guys see that we have here, these stools, we actually, as part of one of the steps of ending whatever we're working on for the night, Meg and I will usually either pull them away from the table or rotate them so the backs are facing the table, because Bartok will jump up here for some reason.
And he can't make it if they're pulled away.
I think he might be able to, but he just doesn't care to. Like, he doesn't want to jump somewhere where he doesn't know where he's jumping onto.
Oh, that's a good, smart man. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if he can get up on the chair and then he can check the table, he will do it. I don't know. So
these models, I was thinking, you were talking before the stream. I think I painted these models in like 2005, if I had to guess.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to airbrush. Didn't have an airbrush. I didn't know anything about.
Not a lot of people in the hobby did in 2005, to be honest with you.
I wasn't sort of aware of more advanced hobby techniques like edge highlighting, or I kind of just painted in the lines, right? Like you can sort of see. I was kind of just picking colors, painting different panels, those colors. I'm happy at how it came out. I kind of like the look, but I think I'm realizing I could do better with a little bit of edge highlighting.
You can do better 20 years later?
Yeah.
Also, I love you came in today and you were like, guys, this is just black paint.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing else.
It's right
nothing.
Here.
Black paint. You're just like black paint, guys. Meg and I were sitting here. Yeah.
There's whole sections of this model that are just black paint here. Like, look at this Explorer. It's just like the whole back half of the model is just black paint. So I need to do something here. I need to add a little bit of visual interest.
Brett, you know how we'll kind of tell each other stories about before we knew each other and before we had hobby communities, like from this time era?
Yeah.
In our early days. So I got back into the hobby in general in 2008, and I wanted to prioritize painting, and getting good at painting, and Meg and I were doing that together, and stop, Brett, you're gonna know what I'm talking about because you helped run Advanced Tau Tactica. However, one of the things about Advanced Tau Tactica was that everything I'm about to describe is why I pretty quickly stopped interacting with Warhammer on the internet.
Yeah.
Except for Advanced Tau Tactica.
Right.
Because you guys had really strict guidelines and would shut down a stupid conversation.
Because we were elitist jerks.
You were, and I super appreciate it.
Yep.
And one of the things that happened one time, one of my first realizations, so I had two good stories about like early realizations that like, oh, this is bad. Like the hobby plus the internet. Like when I was a kid, there was no internet. Then there's the internet, but I didn't hobby. And then when I combined the two, I was like, oh, some of this is not very good.
Yeah.
And one of them was this guy, and I honestly can't remember. I don't think this was Daka Daka. It might have just been like Warhammer.com or something.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what it was.
Librarium Online.
Something like that. And it had forums. And I was like getting okay at painting, but not great, right? Anyway, this guy came on one time. He's like, hey, does anybody else think that like clean painted minis look the best? And what he was showing was what your thing looked like here before. And I made the mistake. You guys are gonna laugh at me. I made the mistake of going on. I was like, what? Well, people were kind of asking what he meant.
Right.
And he was like, well, no shading. He was like, I just think when you do shading and highlighting and wet blending and stuff, he's like, it just looks worse. And I made the mistake of being like, I think you might just be being lazy. I was like, this is a thing that happens like when you take like art classes too, and you have a professor like in college and stuff. They'll be like, oh, you don't want to do that technique, and you're telling yourself that you don't like that technique. Is that because that technique's gonna, take 4 hours of your night and be hard to do, and you're not quite good at it yet, or what?
Right.
Because everybody else has been doing that technique for a couple hundred years, and it looks good.
Yeah.
And oh my god, he was just like, of course he was freaking livid at me.
Right.
And of course it wasn't Advanced Tau Tactica. So this guy just started like calling me an elitist and a prick and stuff, and just like, and of course like nobody on that forum came to my defense. Everyone went to his defense. They're like, well, it's everyone's personal hobby, and maybe that is what he thinks, and blah blah blah. And I was like, I know this is the part of the story where you guys think I either bowed out or was like, which modern Zach would do. But I was like,
oh no, someone on the internet's wrong.
I went on and I was like, guys, really? And eventually a couple people be like, yeah, he is right. Like, it does look, if you can do it, it does look better when you do it. It's like, that's my point, right? Like, that's my freaking point.
You remember back in the day when people like cared what other people thought about them on the internet? Like nowadays, it's just like, ugh.
I mean,
you just know it's not going to go anywhere, so you just don't bother.
Oh my god, that's my one. The other story on the same site was there was this kid. He was clearly a kid, and what he was doing was he was like he was the worst painter ever in the world. And he would go and he would put his stuff up online, and people were just railing and ripping on this kid. And it was just this interesting, I never commented one way or the other, but it's just this interesting watching of people being like, guys, this is like clearly a kid, like, calm down, stop being a jerk, right? Like,
right.
And like none of this stuff happened on Advanced Tau Tactica. So like forums, I started doing like 40K forums in 2008 when I got back into the hobby. I think by 2011, 12, I pretty much only looked at Advanced Tau Tactica.
Yeah, you're like, no thanks.
Yeah.
And now it's just a ghost town. Nobody goes there anymore.
Yeah, that's technology.
That's forums in general, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know that it's for. We've chatted about this before. Like, forums were good.
They had their moment.
Yeah, and well, I mean, they had their moment, but I mean, the format's good.
The format's good, yeah. The encouragement of like slow form, long form communication it's a good thing. A lot of times, people regret things they say in the heat of internet communication.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. That was wild. I was just like, guys, like, he's just freaking lazy. He just doesn't want to paint anymore.
All right, this still looks bad on camera because it's black.
Well, it looks significantly,
but
I mean, that
in person
better,
it looks way better.
Yeah. I'm not looking at it in person. I'm only looking at it on camera, and it looks better. Clean minis.
Yeah, I think so. Here, so I'll show off a little bit more. So this is This is the Explorer. Well, let me get. It takes up too much
I'll
real
take
estate.
the-
Take the thing away.
Yeah.
So you see sort of my paint scheme for the hero and the colonization fleet, and then I've also got, this is the same ship that Zach was showing, the Custodian, and so you can see like I've got basically two paint schemes and they look decent side by side, but the idea is that like this ship was they went about colonizing and they built all these ships, and then the ones that haven't been destroyed are still around to help kind of do space battles. But then at some point they were like, oh, we've got these dedicated warships, and they started making them available to various fleets. And so those designs get, they look different, they're painted different, and they get kind of disseminated to around the empire as need requires. And so I kind of am fine having sort of two paint schemes in my fleet. And so I've got this like contingent of the old ships that are sort of painted cohesively, and then this contingent of the new ships that are painted cohesively. And I kind of like the sort of story it tells, I guess, as to like when these ships were acquired and what they're used for.
Yeah, I like how you do that with your.
But I guess I get that these older models are pretty. They don't have the same vibe as the new ones, right?
I think for me, they're cool looking. They are quite cool looking. Honestly, if you showed those to me,
right?
If you laid all the Battlefleet Gothic miniatures available out,
right,
and showed those to me, I'd be like, I think those, and you're like, what faction are different ships?
Yeah.
I know I could tell those apart from the Imperial ships.
Right.
But it would take me a minute to think maybe they were Tau.
Yeah, they don't look super Tau.
These ones are. I mean, this is
very obviously like a Tau.
That's the Tiger Shark, just bigger, basically, right? Like this is the hammerhead front of it, right? Yeah. Like the style is evident,
very recognizable.
This is actually why I asked you, Brett, at the start if that was if either of these were not necessarily piloted by, but built by or crewed, like either Demir or Nisakar. And I thought that was the case at first, right? Are the Nisakar are they or whatever they're called? Were they not the ones who kind of like first like helped the Tau out with spacefaring?
Yes,
that's kind of their thing, right?
Yep, they're like space polar bears, psychic polar bears.
Right, they're not particularly.
They're very slow and chill.
Yeah, they're not really set up for like ground war, but they help the Tau travel through space.
Get into space, yeah. And the Demiurge helped them with ion technology. So all this like cyclic ion nonsense that is in 40K, you can thank the Demiurge for that.
Right, the Votan.
The Votan.
Yeah. Listen, you guys know we like to do segments here. Now, last week, Brett and Saray did some epic, and we saw some tiny versions of things that are in 40K. We did see a little bit of that today. But these ships, clearly Battlefleet Gothic, played at a very tiny scale.
That's right, yeah.
Actually, maybe the tiniest of all scales.
Yeah, I think so.
Considering that this would have to be 5... If this is 5 times bigger, that's pretty much the size of an actual Barracuda. Maybe not quite.
Even bigger, I think.
Oh yeah, okay. So, maybe a sun shark, not a sun shark, a tiger shark.
Almost, yeah. It ends up being, or mantis-sized even.
Like gosh.
Or it's maybe not quite mantis-sized. Yeah.
So, what we want to do is we want to have one of those segments where we talk about something, but we want to be positive and not just make fun of things. And we want to genuinely talk about tiny things that you can get that are real tiny versions of real life things.
That are cool.
That are good. Okay, so we're going to go through them and then we're going to rank them like we like to do on our ranking system.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start here by going through some tiny versions of things. And the first one I have here is a quail egg.
Quail eggs are amazing.
Have you eaten a quail egg?
Yes.
Yeah. Do they taste different?
They taste very similar, but they're useful for soups. That's where I've had them most, is in soups.
Because you get like a little tiny egg in there.
You can have, yeah, and they're bite sized. So like if you ever go to like a ramen place and they give you half of a chicken egg in your soup, you have to do that with quail egg. You literally just put a whole egg in there. And the problem with a half egg in soup is that it has to be hard boiled because the yolk runs everywhere. With a quail egg, it doesn't have to be cut in half. So you can soft boil it. So then when you bite into it, you get the like warm yolk.
Okay.
Thing. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just Soups is saying, wait, what? I don't know if he's talking about quail eggs. I don't know if quail eggs or tiny little bird eggs are common in the U.S. or in the EU or the U.K. But California is a lot because our state bird is the quail, and like quails
is
are
it
farmed.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's the quail.
Oh, yeah.
California quail. They're like farmed here and stuff, so quails are like a thing. Okay, quail egg. That's thing number one.
Thing number one.
We're gonna keep going here. Okay, there's quail egg. Next up is a Shetland pony.
Oh.
Do you know what this is?
It's a small horse, right?
It's a tiny little horse.
I've never seen one in person.
I've
seen them on TV.
Somebody where I grew up had one in a pen. Whenever we would go to my dad's friend's house.
Was it? Did it have redeeming qualities other than being cute?
I don't know. I don't know enough about horses. We would just drive by and see this thing in a pen. It was in a pen with a mule was in there. There's a weird... Somebody just had some weird horse-adjacent animals all together in a pen where I grew up.
I mean, checks out.
Yeah. So this is this is the Shetland pony. I don't have a lot to say about the Shetland pony. And I actually don't think it's that cute. I think horses are not cute.
Oh.
Ever. Meg brought up that I should include the Shetland pony and that it was cute. I didn't say anything to her because Meg likes horses, and I like horses, but I would never describe a horse as cute.
As cute, okay.
Even a baby horse, yeah, never.
Interesting. How would you describe their aesthetics? What words would you use to describe their looks?
It looks sort of like it looks like it can't get out of the 80s. Like its hair is just like permanently. It looks like either the 80s was like, hey, let's have a hairstyle that's like a Shetland pony, or Shetland ponies just
or the other way around.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a Gelfling haircut, like from Dark Crystal. I think Rod Stewart has hair like this for a while.
Right.
Joan Jett, maybe. I just feel like this hair is,
it's a style.
It's a style.
I'm assuming that Shetland ponies didn't copy their hairstyle after 80s pop culture.
Yeah. No.
That if there was copying, then it was the other way around.
It was the other way around.
All
right. Moving on, we have espresso.
Tiny coffee.
Tiny coffee.
Yeah.
How do you feel about tiny coffee? Yeah, I'm a big fan of tiny coffee. I didn't get a picture with one with a lemon on it, but I actually think the lemon peel nearby is a requirement.
The sugar, do you do just sugar cube?
I have, and I have not. Actually, what I'm literally drinking here right now is basically like a triple espresso with a little bit of sugar in it.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of espresso.
It's probably not actually the strength of espresso. It's probably a lot weaker.
Okay.
Yeah. It's probably coffee. It's probably a cup of
It's probably just coffee.
Yeah.
Americano,
yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of espresso. When Meg and I got married, we acquired an espresso machine.
Yeah.
And I loved it and quite a bit, but it broke. One component of it broke. The steaming milk component of it broke.
Yeah.
We moved around a lot. We eventually ditched it. I honestly was probably okay with the steaming milk component of it breaking.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because like now we have the milk frother little thing that we use, and
I was gonna say like the espresso machine is really two components. It's the milk steamer and then the espresso extractor. And I think like which maybe an interesting question is like which of those is your favorite part of an espresso drink. And I think maybe that says a lot about a person.
Yeah. Well, for me, you can do both the things and with other ways, cruder, more rudimentary tools. And it's famously a horrible idea to combine two.
I agree.
Yeah, this was I remember famous in the 90s. Everyone was discouraged from buying a TV with a VCR built into it.
Right. Yes. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Because then as soon as one of the things breaks, the device is like
Well, back then you took things to the shop.
To the shop.
So still to your point, it was like, cool. Well, the VCR broke, so we're not watching any TV now
because our TV VCR combo is in the shop.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like a big boomer fear. Okay, moving on. I picked these pictures off Envato. This is a travel size shampoo. And the photographer had taken some bottles of travel size shampoo and clearly just stuck them in the bushes in their backyard.
Yeah. And this is apparently a career. You can go get random objects from your home, put them on Envato, and photograph them in with foliage.
Stick things in bushes
into bushes and photograph them. Yeah.
Yeah. So just listen. It's not an ad for Envato, but if you guys were ever like, oh, I need a picture of generic unlabeled travel size shampoo stuck in a bush, an evergreen bush, by the way. Envato has several.
Or if you're a high school senior wondering what to do with your life, this could be your career. You could photograph random household objects in foliage and post it to the internet, and someone will pay you for it.
There's a number of ways to make money off Envato. This is one of them, I think. Okay, any stock footage site really. But that said, Brett, how do you feel about travel shampoo, travel toothpaste sizes? Do you go get your own, or when you travel?
Yeah.
What is your plan for things like shampoo and toothpaste? I guess it depends where you're going.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I will bring toothpaste usually. Mm-hmm. Let's just start pre-assuming that there's not going to be any of that stuff. Well, maybe that's not a good pre-assumption because like hotels will usually have. And like the decision to use the hotel shampoo is like, it says something about a person too, right? So I typically I'll bring my own bring my own toothpaste.
Okay.
And then I'll bring just a little travel size bottle of.
So you do use the travel size,
but not shampoo. I don't bring shampoo. Just the Castile soap.
Oh, okay. Like the like
Dr. Bronner's. Yeah. Okay. So and that is usable to wash anything. You can wash clothes, your hair. You could clothes wash with your hair. So if I'm just going for a weekend, I'm fine to just have the one product, wash my hair and my body with the Castile soap, and then. Yeah. But I use a little bottle like that.
Okay.
Which is really what we're after here.
Right? What we're after, yeah. I think travel size stuff is interesting.
What about you?
I carry like this black little bag with me when I travel.
What do you call that bag? When you're like
black travel,
when you can't find it, and you're like, Meg, where's my blank bag?
Black bathroom bag.
Bathroom bag. Okay.
Yeah, it has like all my toiletries in it.
Toiletries bag.
Okay. Yeah, it has. That's probably what should be called. To be honest with you, I typically take whatever large version of things I'm currently using and just put them in that bag.
And then check that bag? Well, you travel on Southwest and they allow free checked bags, so it's not an issue, right?
I guess so. Yeah. Or if I'm driving, whatever. Or I drive when I can.
You drive, yeah. So, in my family, when I was growing up, we referred to that bag, had a unique name. It was called the Diddy bag.
Oh, I don't like that.
Isn't that weird?
A little bit, yeah.
I feel like the Europeans in chat are going to have a fun time with that. Diddy bag.
Diddy bag. Yeah.
Did anyone else refer to the bag that you put your toiletries in when traveling as a Diddy bag?
Diddy bag.
Or am I the only one?
Okay, here we go. Tiny screwdriver.
I hate it. It's awful.
Do you ever feel the need that you need this thing?
Nope.
No?
I have one because it came in a combo set of tools at some point. And I don't think I've literally... The only time I ever use it is when I can't find the normal screwdriver.
Yeah.
It's just I can't find the correct tool, so I'll use this one instead.
There are actually smaller, like little tiny screwdrivers. Remember the microphones we recently had? Actually, remember they had the little screwdriver built in.
Yeah, but this doesn't have a smaller head. It's like literally just shorter.
Exactly.
It's
I don't
not
exactly get it. I guess like, you can't. You don't have. You're trying to reach into somewhere.
You're trying to. Yeah, if it's like constrained,
yeah,
you don't have as much space. But
okay. Next, here is two diverse and attractive people playing table tennis, which is a tiny version of tennis. By the way, to the left, I had to crop out a young Asian man. So nice, diverse picture. I apologize for having to crop him out. That's the second way. That's the second thing you can find on Envato, are pictures of people from all walks of life getting together to play table tennis.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Brett. So what do you think about table tennis?
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you briefly. Thank you, Rudy and Saray, for validating the Diddy bag. Apparently, that's the military term.
Oh.
I didn't know that. Nobody in my family was in the military, so I'm not sure why we referred to it as such, but it's good to know.
Did anyone in your family kind of work at military adjacent?
No, not that I don't think so.
Your dad did like science stuff, right?
He was an electrical engineer at Ford. He designed windshield wiper motors and power seat motors and alternators.
Okay. I mean, all those things, that could be.
It could be.
It could be, okay.
If it was World War II, he probably would have.
Okay. So, table tennis.
I am notoriously bad at table tennis. I don't particularly enjoy it. It doesn't like have health benefits. I'm not getting like a ton of exercise. I guess maybe if you're at the highest levels, you're very physically active while you're table tennising. But I spent a bit of time in China a few years ago, and table tennis is very popular there, and it was super cool to see some people playing table tennis at a very high level. But it was more interesting to me as a spectator sport, and I was just kind of impressed by the skill on display. Then I was like, oh, now I want to go play table tennis.
Table tennis is fascinating. It's one of these sports like foosball or anything like that where like, okay, so like these kids right here could be like in the college dorm. And like if you're in a college dorm and there's like a room in the dorm or like the downstairs that has a couple of these things, you will then for at least a portion of your life get good at it.
Yeah.
And be into it. And that's kind of like what these things all are. I remember John, our very own John, but was working at Cisco.
Yep.
And he was saying that he just got really good at table tennis.
That's the thing. That's another thing in Silicon. Oh my gosh, man!
Yeah.
I blocked this thing out of my mind. But I worked briefly at a company here in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley, and it was a tech startup, and they had a table. Famously, tech startups
often have
table tennis.
These kinds of things, foosball,
yeah.
stuff, yeah.
And the people, it was very bro culture, lots of bro-y. And there was like almost the whole company just kind of stopped at like 3:30, and everyone took the mid-afternoon table tennis break. And they actually had to sort of institute table tennis hours. This mid-afternoon table tennis break was after they had instituted this policy, because people were playing it so much, and they needed to sort of limit the number of one person would go over and play it with somebody else, and then pretty soon half the company would be there standing around taking turns. And so they had to limit the amount of time people played table tennis, and I just had no interest in it. And I genuinely felt that I had sort of a lower opportunity for advancement at the company because I didn't like play table tennis and had no interest in it.
You might have been
I
right.
had this conversation with my boss at the time, and I was like, hey, I feel like I'm not really getting to know my coworkers. Like, can you sort of talk to this? Is there like something I should be doing? And he was like, yeah, you should, you should play table tennis. And I was like, I don't want to. It's not something I'm excited about. I'm not interested in it. And he was like, just do it anyway. Like those were his words to me. I was like, oh my God. He's like, smile more, right?
Yeah, me, I guess. Wow, yeah, not wow.
I didn't last very long there. Turns out, I didn't succeed at that company.
What about tiny spoons?
Leah loves tiny spoons. We have one for our salt. We dispense salt while cooking with a tiny spoon.
You guys thought I had just a few of these? It's just 8 actually.
We're halfway through, you guys. I hope you're sitting down. I feel like there is very little in the world that a tiny spoon is required for that a larger spoon can't also do.
That's the issue with a lot of these things.
Right.
Right. So that's gonna be I think you and I should say when we do our ranking, we should think about that. Because how many large spoons do you have? 12, maybe? Do you need a 13th tiny spoon?
Yeah, no, probably not.
Now, what if you want a bespoke spoon to sit on the salt or the sugar or whatever, right?
Yep.
Then maybe we're talking, right?
Yep.
Yeah, here it is, Chris, being used for caviar, like you're saying. And people use little tiny forks for oysters and stuff like that, for seafood. But are they truly necessary? Or because we have like this coming out of the Victorian era, like 150 years ago, where there was this too much wealth to know what to do with thing of like, well, we need a fork for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, and I think of this. I think Xers and younger are the first generation to start really shaving that off. As a kid growing up, my mom, born in 1948, I mean, we had cabinets full of stupid plates and stuff that we never used, and we only used them for certain holidays. And it would be like, okay, get all the weird plates and forks and spoons out. And it would be like, cool, here's the special spoons and forks. And it's like, I mean, honestly, we're eating freaking ham.
Right.
And potato salad. Like, what is so special all of a sudden? Why is this spoon part of this? Like, yeah, it's really stupid. Anyway, tiny spoons. Okay. Moving on. Tiny orange. In this case, peelable Clementine. In California, these are referred to as cuties. That's actually a brand name. Yeah, but cuties are good.
When I was a kid, we called these either clementines or miniolas.
Miniolas.
Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, miniola is a little different. It has the miniola comes to a peak.
Oh.
Yeah.
It has a nub?
It has a nub at the top, and you just pop that nub, and it's looser skin on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I associated those. I interchanged those two words. I feel like when I was a kid, I thought these were amazing. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you what I want out of an orange.
Yeah.
I want a single serving in one object. So when I was a kid, I thought these were great. I loved them. The problem was I'd eat like 8 of them. And so I realized later, what I actually wanted was a single orange that was 8 times the size. So I only had to peel one thing.
Oh.
Like I would spend half an hour peeling and eating these things because there's just so much like
there's so many.
Pith, right?
You're doing a bunch. It's at this point you're almost eating. It's almost like you're eating blueberries, but like instead, it's almost you could think of it that way. Instead of having 50 blueberries, you're having like 8 large berries that you also have to peel.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've since come around on it. I'll now just buy navel oranges. Like I would rather have 1 navel orange than 3 clementines or 3 cuties.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it depends on your preferred serving size of orange fruit.
Yeah. And how much peeling you're ready and willing to do. Okay.
What about you?
I honestly I love all things orange.
Yeah. Okay.
Orange, tangerine, clementines, all of these things. I'm not super picky. If it's bad when I bite in, if it's like when I'm ready to deal with it. However, if it's not peelable and I have to slice it, that's fine with me. I do the way they do it in Chinese restaurants, where they cut off the top and the bottom, set it down, and then they shave off.
Oh, yeah.
I do that typically. So for me, I guess I don't. I like cuties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like them too. And actually they've. It feels like over the years, either through genetic engineering or just me getting better at it, I can peel them quicker. I'm assuming they've genetically engineered them to make the skin just kind of fall off.
I actually think that they were not. I think they were selectively bred, though. I don't think it was GMOing. Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's everything. Now, before we get to ranking and going through and talking about this even more, let's address some super chats that we had here. So Rudy, we even have to go back further. Soups, thank you for gifting membership like 45 minutes ago. I'm not as on top of these as Meg. I like to wait and then do them all in a chunk. Soups always for his ongoing continued support.
Thank you, Soups.
When we talked about tiny eggs, we were not talking about these tiny eggs are good for you, Soups. We were just talking about soups in general. Soup's the non-proper noun.
Soup, S-O-U-P-S.
S-O-U-P-S.
Yeah.
But they could be good for Soups, the person.
Nutritionally, yeah, I'm sure.
Nutritionally, yeah. Swallowing. You could swallow them whole if you peel them and just swallow little tiny eggs whole. Polychrome says 7. Brett, if you were painting the fleet from scratch, what would you do? 7 months he's addressing here. He's been a lab manager for 7 months.
I probably would do all one color. Like, I like the idea of panel line, these panels on top of vehicles. I would do like you're doing. I would. This sort of classic GW scheme for these ships is just all white. And I would probably just do them all one color. I would do some airbrush fading, similar to what I did on the Commerce Protection Fleet ships that I've got. But maybe a different color, maybe gray or something. Yeah. This like painting the lines thing is fun and cool. But my gosh, I remember as a kid, each one of these ships probably took me a month. There's
it is super clean.
There's like 10
it is well
there's
done.
10 coats of this bone color.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
over black primer.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So I would not do this again.
Brett, it's funny. I'm going to interrupt everything going on here to point out that I'm about to put some decals on these.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm kind of realizing that the scale of these ships makes decals...
It's a little weird.
It's a little weird. Probably not exactly correct. I'm about to put like a number on this, on the... what's this one called?
The Protector.
The Protector, because I have 2. I've only painted 1, but I guess I want them to be numbered differently, so I can like track them off to the side or whatever. But like that would be
a giant number, right?
There would be like 4 or 5 Earthcast guys out there, like on like giant hover equipment, like with a giant Wagner airbrusher, like power paint sprayer.
But that's what you need. Like you're
I guess so.
The numbers are meant to be viewed from really far away, so they need to be big, right?
Okay, yeah. I guess. Yeah. So okay. So we're going to do it. All right.
I think it's fine.
Thank you, Rudy. Also, Rudy has gifted 5 memberships, and then for his lab Mandro 7th. My apologize for the late join, Rudy. You never have to apologize. We're glad you're here. Hobby Collab fam, as I am still with family. What armies are you working on or planning to work on for Battlefleet Gothic? Loved the video game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
BFG Armada, famously
pretty popular, yeah.
Popular, but also very close in play sort of feel to the tabletop game. So it gets a lot of accolades, similar to the Blood Bowl video game in that respect.
Okay.
The people who are fans of the tabletop game talk about both the Blood Bowl video game and the Battlefleet Gothic video game as sort of having the same feel or evoking the same feel as the tabletop game, which is cool. Like, especially considering the BFG video game is real time. So it's not a turn-based game. I
was actually about to ask you about that. I was like, isn't it like real time?
It's real time, okay. Yeah. But yeah, you can do things like all ahead full, and you can come to new heading, and you can all the special orders that you can do in BFG exist in the game as different game effects. The torpedoes and the attack craft. It's very, all the terrain elements are sort of represented in the game. There's a deployment phase where you're putting out your ships, and then it's interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, I think just Tau for now. I like the idea of campaign play in the 40K universe, where you have one faction that you have represented in across multiple game systems, and so you can fight a battle in space, and then imagine that those same guys then drop down onto a planet, and after they sort of take over a system, and then you fight a battle on the ground and
do a little 40K,
do a little 40K
epic or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Rudy, I'll say, and when the new Aeronautica came out, I got all the fleets, and built them up. I'm not currently planning on doing that with Battlefleet Gothic. I will say though, that I like that idea of doing that.
Yeah.
And I think we have some folks in our area, in many ways, thanks to Brett, getting people into it, and or printing them fleets. We have other people that we can play with, so it's not just going to be Brett and I going Tau versus Tau.
Right. Graham is in chat. He has some Necron ships that I printed for him, and he and I get games in occasionally. Our friend Bryce now is the proud owner of some Tyranid spaceships that I printed for him. So yeah, I'm slowly building a play group to play my old games with.
Yeah, and I honestly, I have to say, you clear my throat. I want to thank Brett on air, because lots of times when early on Brett like played all these out of print games, is like, whatever, I don't care about these. But he's definitely gotten me into them. Like, I'm very excited to play Battlefleet Gothic. I'm glad Aeronautica coming back as its own new version probably helped with that too.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
Because I did really enjoy and do really enjoy the new Aeronautica game, and it now has since been ended, yeah, essentially. Yeah. And we were talking about this before streaming. I was saying, like, I'm pretty happy with where Aeronautica ended.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a problem with it. I wish they had gone to Drukhari and Tyranids.
Right.
And Chaos.
Yeah, there are a few factions they didn't quite get to in Aeronautica.
But it's very balanced.
Right.
Aeronautica is quite balanced.
Fine. Yeah.
I don't think it really needs... The problem is always going to become if you end the game and then you say, okay, that's it, folks. And then there's balance problems.
Right.
And then fans have to get involved. And it's not that fans may not do a good job, but when you kind of cede away from a central authority, it's kind of like, who are we going to listen to?
Who's in charge of this?
And a lot of times what I've observed, and I think my guest, Brett, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, is Battlefleet Gothic has hit this stage where you kind of reset and you have to then wait to see who you trust to be in charge.
Yeah.
But for, like, if Aeronautica had ended in a bad place, and people were jumping in right away saying, okay, I have the fix, who do you listen to?
Yep.
Now, 15 years down the road, there probably has become a new central authority. Right? Yep. This actually happens when nation states topple as well. It's pretty similar, right? It's
my gosh.
It's kind of a mess at first.
Yeah.
And then over time, you're like, oh, that person actually, we've noticed, right? It's really good. Like, this person's fan rules, more and more people will start to come out of the woodwork, especially in the internet era, and say, hey, we use this one guy's fan rules, and they're actually quite good, right?
I am super... This is like a weird pet hobby of mine, is trying to understand how these kinds of authority mechanisms develop. Like, it's super interesting to me. And actually I've just started trying to look into it a little bit to figure out, because there are different versions of the rules. And I don't know, like, I know at least, I've been getting back into Epic again recently as well. And Polychrome, you're in chat, maybe you know the answer to this, but like, I know there's a Epic UK sort of rules council, and then there's presumably like a different rules council for continental Europe, and then maybe a different one for the United States. And I think it's sort of similar for BFG, is that like different parts of the world sort of have locally decided what rule sets they're going to continue to play with.
Even that is good, because if you can just get it down to 3 authorities that feel maybe equal, maybe for an event they'll talk, right, at the very least.
Yeah, for events they figure it out. Yeah. And I think what a lot of people want is just standardization. It kind of doesn't matter. Like, I don't care what version of the rules we're playing with. I just want to know so that I can, maybe one version of the rules makes ship A a little better than ship B, and a different version flip-flops that. That's fine. I'll just bring like the other ship, or I'll at least know what I'm getting myself into if I'm bringing a suboptimal choice. But like, I just want to know. I want there to be some standardization. I want everyone to at least know what the expectation is. I think that's the most important thing. And you lose that central body of authority when Games Workshop steps away from it, and then there's a power vacuum, and then
yeah. Rudy, this is all a long-winded way of saying that whether I'll ever do more battle fleets or not, right now I'm doing this one, and as long as we have a group of people playing other ones, I don't feel the need to.
Yeah.
One of the big reasons I have all the aeronautica fleets and like that we have like 6-7 AOS armies now is because I have a group of good gaming friends in the Bay Area who are all 40K players. Right. And I kind of wanted to be able to say, like, hey, want to play this game?
Yep.
For Aeronautica, it also had a lot to do with, it's kind of a board game.
Right.
And it's sort of like, hey, who wants to play Aeronautica? You know, during COVID, during early COVID, Meg and I were playing.
Right.
Then during mid-late COVID, you know, you were coming over when we were playing. And it gave us the ability to kind of like switch out the fleets and play different, you know, not always be playing the same one.
These games also, like Aeronautica and BFG both,
mm-hmm.
you can paint up a set of playing pieces in a weekend.
I know.
Like you're gonna have these 3 ships like basically done by the end of this session in a day. Give yourself another day, do a few escorts, and you'd be good.
Yeah, and you know, if they're I didn't realize they're Tyranids. You know, Meg might want to play Tyranids.
There are rules for them. They don't. GW never made models,
but
so it's all 3D. Yes, so GW made. I think GW made rule. This was back in the day when GW made rules for games that didn't have any models.
Yeah.
And Tyranids were one of those, I think, in BFG, where they had rules, official GW rules, never had models, and then now in the era of 3D printing, you can get some really cool looking. And actually, you know, Rudy mentioned the video game. There's a whole set of 3D printable files
from the video game, right?
That people have ripped out of the video game. Yeah, you can go into the registry of the video game and pull out the 3D assets from the game. And then you have to do a bunch of repairing to make them printable meshes. But that's a thing that people have invested the energy and time into. And so whereas the 3D models in the video game differ a little bit from the classic GW ship designs, you can get those video game models if you want. And print yourself some.
Molecule. Checking bags is always an issue. This is a good point. I am getting ready to travel tomorrow with an army.
With an army.
Always a little scary. I don't have to check it, I hope. I made sure I got an early boarding position in Southwest. And hopefully I'm okay.
But you could check it if you wanted, because Southwest gives you free checked bags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to check any bags. I'm only going for a few days.
I wish more airlines did that.
And then I saw Polly. Okay, Polly, you had a comment I wanted to address. He said, Aeronautica is balanced, ? Except I have nightmares about Thunderbolt Furies. Okay, I have a take on this. And you've played enough Aeronautica to probably be able to address this. What I've learned about Thunderbolt Furies is that they are, and I don't play video games, but I have this knowledge of a video game that in somewhat recent memory, I believe... in Overwatch, that people were saying that the character Mercy is like super powerful, but
she's
then
a healer, right?
I think so. But then like once you get good at the game, she's just fine, right? Or once you're playing people that are higher level, or whatever. Right. Okay, I don't think I'm a particularly high aeronautical level. I probably have played. You and I probably played 10 times the games of the average aeronautical.
The average, yeah.
And what you do learn about Thunderbolt Furies is that. The skill ceilings in Aeronautica are a thing. And the Tau skill ceiling is kind of cute. It's like, it's not that you have to get really good and mistakes screw you over, because it's actually a fairly durable fleet. It's that you kind of are trying to learn cute tricks. And the thing about the Thunderbolt Fury is you don't realize how screwed the entire Imperial Navy fleet is. In only having front-facing medium fire, basically. If they're not
in short range,
if they're not front-facing medium, they are screwed. And with Tau, the way to beat them is really long. It's why the game is 12 turns, right? It's slow going and it's long. And what you do is you just never. You're also good as a Tau player, front-facing medium.
Right.
But you have other shots.
You have other shots.
So all I typically do when
you
I
have
play
non-zero amounts of you roll non-zero amounts
Yeah.
of dice
Yeah.
with your all-around burst cannons.
Yep, that's it. I just never am in their front arc. I do everything I can to like minimize where I'm in their front arc.
Yep.
Either hang close or hang far, depending on what weapon it is.
It's funny, yeah. It's a 12-turn game, and people are like trying to finish it in 2 and 3 turns. And if you want to drag it out, and plink a wound here and there,
Thunderbolt, not Thunderbolts, Tiger Sharks. Like Tiger Sharks will win that fight if you are playing conservatively. Like same with the Suryani, super high skill ceiling. This is actually the biggest bummer to have not been playing Aeronautica more recently. I felt like right towards the end, I was finally starting to get how the Asuryani worked.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and
they're another tricksy one.
They are skill ceiling high, and when you screw up, you're dead. Tau, I think like when you screw up, they're durable enough that you're like you can hang around.
Right.
The Asuryani, when you screw up, you're just gone. Right, like the bomber is two nothing has more than 2 hits. Right, so. But wow, when I was starting to get it towards the end, same deal. Like the Jink, the move one spot before, you're like the player would go to like measure, and they're like, oh, you're just out of my front arc, or like, oh, you're in my short arc. I have barely any shots, and then during your turn, you move back to your medium arc, which again is where you are, and into it or whatever, and then you shoot them. But it's super hard. It takes like a lot of play, a lot of practice to get those two. And I haven't used the Necrons yet.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious how the Necrons play. They have a reputation in Battlefleet Gothic. They are in Battlefleet Gothic. They are very fast. The joke is you can basically on turn 1 you can basically pick your whole Necron fleet up and put them anywhere you want on the table because they're so fast they can essentially teleport. And so in a game that's all about firing arcs, that's super strong because you can get around behind things where they don't have any guns, and just sort of you can do a refused flank where you sort of take your whole fleet and collapse one side and focus your whole fleet against one of their ships and try to kill it and get an early advantage. And there's all kinds of like clever things you can do in a war game with lots and lots of movement.
I told you I hadn't played them. I realize I have actually. At last.
Oh, you did a demo game, right?
No, at last Nova. We had a when we did Big Aeronautica.
Oh, right.
With Melody. I played them there.
You played with giant
Necrons.
48 scale planes or 28 millimeter scale planes.
Yeah, and they are it's similar to what you're saying. They have two planes basically. It's all the croissant, and their like speed is 8, their throttle is like 2. They can go up to maneuver 8. They can do like any maneuver. Right.
All the planes can do maneuver 8. Right.
All the planes do. You have all the maneuvers all the time.
Yeah.
The problem is they have 2 weaknesses. One, all front arc. Everything front arc.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Again, a big weakness actually in Aeronautica. And then 2, and they're durable. So super fast, super durable. They're a little underpowered shooting wise. Yeah. It's like they have a lot of everything hits on 5s in Aeronautica, right?
Right.
They have a lot of. It's like orcs will hit on 5s and wound on 5s with 8 shots. Necrons, you often feel like you're hitting on 5s and wounding on 5s with like 4 shots or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting balancing mechanic.
Yeah.
I think that's very similar to how they play in BFGs. Their offensive output is anemic, but they can pick their battles to an extreme. And so the trick to Necrons is knowing when to brace. I mean, this is the trick in all of BFG, no matter what race you're playing, but like knowing when to brace in BFG, if you're not familiar, you can at any point, anytime you're being shot at, choose to brace for impact. And that's the only way you can ever get a save. Like nothing in BFG has a saving throw, unless you brace for impact. Then you get a 4+
Oh, that's
save.
Significant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like huge.
Yeah. So you go from having no save to having a 4+ save, and if you brace, then you're output, your shooting is reduced in half the next turn. So you suffer a massive reduction in your output if you brace for impact. So if you can get the Necron player to brace, then you basically just don't have to worry about their guns at all. So you put enough shooting into them, get them to brace, and then.
Oh, Graham says Necron's always going to save. It's just not that good, or.
Yeah, so that's the. Remember, I mentioned Necrons don't have shields.
Oh, but they've got armor.
They always get a save, yeah, and when they brace, their save goes to like 2+. It's insane. Their save gets super good. So
their output is.
But their output is at that point like you can basically just ignore them. Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay. So much to talk about today. But before we go any further, Cass, thank you for getting 5 memberships.
Thank you,
to hear
Cass.
from you. Wondering what you're working on these days. Taking some photos, working on models. Let us know.
Space Marines.
Okay, here we go. It's time. There it is. Okay, we're going to talk about this in a moment. But before we
It's time to rank.
Yeah, before we do that, let's do a little bit ranking here. Okay, I think we can go down the list here, Brett.
Yep.
And this is always funny because we have to do these together.
Right.
Okay. Espresso.
S.
I was gonna say S. All right. Yeah, so okay. and that's saying a lot because we give very few S tier rankings here on Hobby Club. Quail egg.
I think it's high B, low A.
Okay, I'm comfortable with B. I'm not comfortable with A.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll tell you why. I like the thought of it in soup. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's situational. It's too situational. And otherwise, I don't want to eat a quail egg.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. It's useful for soup, not useful for a whole lot else.
Okay. Shetland pony.
Ooh. I'm fine with D.
I think this thing is just hot garbage. I think this thing sucks.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm very fine with D for the Shetland pony. Horses are not cute, so they don't need to be tiny. It's not going to get any cuter by being smaller, right?
Wow. Okay.
So, and its
what
hair
about with
is
the
stupid.
hairdo?
The hair is stupid. It's stupid hair. 80s hair in general is stupid.
Yeah.
But there are few good 80s haircuts.
Yeah.
It's not like 70s hair. 70s hair is awesome.
If this horse had a mohawk.
I don't know that mohawk is it either for me. That
was a joke, Zach.
Yeah, I'm not into the mohawk. I'm not into the Molly Ringwald mushroom head thing. So for me, the Shetland pony just sucks. I hate this thing, and I'm happy with it down here in D.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tiny oranges. I want to let you go first here because you had some thoughts on this.
Yeah, I'm conflicted. Again, I like the flavor. They're great snack size. As a diabetic, oranges are great to just like throw in a bag because they come with their own packaging.
And the cutie is easy to peel, so you don't die while you're trying to get your snack. I just wish it
was a little bigger, honestly. Like when I was 12, I ate 5 of these things in a sitting. So I think my only complaint is I wish they were bigger. So I'm fine with B.
B, okay.
Were you going to go for higher than that?
No, I think B is good.
I also could be convinced to go A.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think you and I do not have children. I bet if we had children, we'd be putting this thing in an A.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Parents love this.
Yeah, it's healthy. The sugar and fruit. Like you can't really eat enough.
Yep.
Sugar in a cutie to like have it be unhealthy for you. So yeah.
Kids love it.
Yeah.
So that's parents love it.
Yeah. But we don't have kids, so we're gonna keep it at B. But we understand that you might want it at A.
Right.
Okay. All right. Here's a good one, Brett. The tiny screwdriver. You had a
D.
Yeah. You hate this thing right out of the gate. I prove us wrong. I don't know where you use it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't. Yeah. This is like, it gets included in all these multi-tool sets, and no one ever uses it. It just sits in the drawer.
Yeah. You know what's more useful than this? Have you ever seen one of the L-shaped screwdrivers? No, not L. It's almost like It's like bending. It goes like
oh yes,
this, and then this, and it has usually a Phillips head and a flat head on one side, so you can get the torque.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
For, like, furniture assembly sometimes.
Yeah, they come with that.
Yeah.
It's hard to find them on their own. I've never looked, but I imagine it's hard to find them on their own. Okay, table tennis.
I don't see the appeal, but I also don't have anything against it.
Sounds like a C.
Yeah.
Does that post a C?
Yeah.
For me, table tennis is at best a C. Same thing. Because for me, the problem with table tennis is that it's very replaceable by many other things, including foosball. I don't know, just having some decent board games laying around.
I guess the thing I have against it is I lost my job because of it.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's the thing I have against it.
I guess that's pretty good. That's a pretty good reason to not.
Has anyone lost a job from
table tennis?
from a yard game before?
Oh my god. Okay, yeah.
PTSD about this stupid table
tennis.
tennis.
Do D then, Brett. Like,
all right.
Screw table tennis. Okay. This is rough. There's no A's or C's yet. All right. Travel size shampoo.
A, yeah.
A? Yeah. I mean, it's nothing else. It does what it's supposed to do.
Does what it's supposed to do. It's convenient.
It's not exciting.
It's not exciting, but and that photograph, you know.
The photograph is strong, yeah. All right, last but not least, tiny spoons.
Oh, tiny spoons. I think that can be a C. No, yeah, maybe a C.
Yeah, I think that's our C. I didn't know if we'd get any A's or C's, but these do feel right to me. Okay, here it is. I'll take a screenshot so everybody will have this forever. I mean, nice. we already have it forever because of YouTube, but now we have that. We can talk about this, but I think this is right.
I think we nailed it.
I think people are going to be mad about the Shetland pony being D, but I think I stand by it. And I think
people, you mean Meg mostly.
Meg will be mad. I also think people will be mad about ping pong being D.
Oh yeah.
But
sure.
But
if you'd lost a job due to ping pong existing, you might also be mad. Yeah.
There's definitely going to be a meme about you losing a job. Daniel says, "What about even smaller oranges like kumquats?" So we have some kumquat.
Yeah,
we mutually have some kumquat stories, right?
Yep. The cool thing about kumquats is they fit in a bottle.
They fit in a bottle, and you eat the peel.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, the peel is the only good part of a kumquat. Where the peel is where the flavor is. The inside part is...
is it bitter?
The inside part has no flavor.
Oh, wow.
It's just kind of moisture. So that's where you eat the whole thing like a grape.
Right.
We made, and still have a ton of, our friend Elias, who you might have heard us reference before, had a kumquat tree in a place where he lived, and the thing makes millions of them.
Right. It just massively overproduces.
And so we made kumquat liqueur out of it.
Right.
And it was okay.
Which is where the bottle comment comes in.
It was okay.
It was fine.
It was fine.
It was very, very fine.
There's a lot of it in this apartment still. There's several gallons of it here. So we made it years ago, and it's still, a lot of it is still here. So it's okay at best. It has a little bit of a funky flavor to it that I don't like. Whenever I serve it to anybody else, they tell me they like it. And I'm always like, do you taste that weird flavor?
Do you taste the weird flavor?
And I'm like, okay, have some more. If you're going to be a liar, have some more. Or I guess you like it, right?
Right.
So I can't drink it too much. Because
it's sort of like a limoncello or like a digestive.
That was the point of it.
That was the idea.
Yeah, but I will tell you what the weird flavor tastes like to me is it tastes like mold.
Oh, interesting.
It has a little bit of a bizarre kind of like not a really yucky mold, but like an earthy mold. Okay. Like a fungal earthiness to it.
Like a blue cheese almost, or
no, that I would like, although not in that context.
Yeah, I know. Like drinking blue cheese is weird.
It's weird. I would do it. I would try it. But it is weird. You're right. Okay. Anyway, there's our rankings. I think I stand by these.
Thanks for sticking with us on the rankings, guys.
on the rankings, yeah.
Lawn darts, yeah, molecule. I don't know. I'm curious. All right.
This is, I think someone got fired because of lawn. Someone got fired for coming up with lawn darts.
Cool. Should do you want me to share what you're doing decals? You want me to show off some of your progress?
Yeah, mostly I'm done decals and I'm done with
okay.
with the panel lining. So now I have some black to add back in. I'm not going to put any decals in the emissaries because they don't really have space for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you switch me over to...
Oh, yeah. I forget that just because you put them there doesn't mean...
All right. This is Zach's progress on decaling up the spaceships.
Yeah.
He's got a couple on the custodian here in the front. That's a good... I like that placement. Yeah, and then these guys here.
There's been a little... I use the Dalyanth.
The number. The Dalyanth logo. Yeah. This is a number. Do you know what number this is? Like 2 or something?
That is 2. No, excuse me. That is 2. Yeah, I'm going to do a 2 and a 3.
And then this is something that we don't know what it is.
Don't know what it is. I don't want to do a 1 because 1 is just a stick.
A stick, yeah.
And then people are like, "Why is there a stick decal on your?"
And you've got your purple panel lining on here. This looks good.
Yep.
It's great.
What is this thing on the front? Is this like? Sorry, this disc?
Yeah.
Is that like a?
So
the crisis suits sit on that.
No,
and
so this is the command deck. This is where all of this ship is a battleship, and it's meant to like lead entire fleets into like taking over whole like one of these will like lead the fifth sphere expansion.
Oh, okay.
And
that's
so like
a big deal.
commanders, yeah, battles in BFG are on a massive scale. Like there was probably I don't know 20 custodians in the entire Tau Empire. Like
that's a custodian.
This is a custodian.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So and you're maybe and I might even be exaggerating. There might be 10.
Okay.
And so this like Shadow Sun sort of sits on this bridge and coordinates operations in the entire sector, with in this command ship. And so there's like a force field that's like enclosing this bubble. So they have like sort of view of space, but I've seen some people try to sort of use, I don't know, some kind of plastic or something to like try to model the force field around this little command deck, but it you don't need it. It's fine. It could just be empty.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm working on the custodian as well. I'm trying to do some edge highlighting on this guy. Just doing a little bit of picking out trying to find some hard edges on this model. There's not a lot. Trying to find some hard edges and give it a little bit of...
They're there on Tau models, right? You always just have to kind of... There's like 1 per Tau model. You always just have to look for them.
A little bit of going at it with an ivory here. Just a little bit of bone. These are the torpedoes, I think. I think these are torpedo launchers. This ship has torpedoes and launches attack craft. Very, very. This is basically an aircraft carrier in game.
Okay. Oh yeah, it like launches other ships out.
Yeah,
you're saying.
Yeah.
Cass, thanks again for gifting some memberships. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Cass.
Good to see you. Always appreciate it. Always helpful to give memberships. Brett, follow-up question. Okay, and poll ending. Did I even tell you what the poll was?
No.
Okay, this is like a poll that I want Brett's take on. And wow, is it a good split? The poll is, with 40 votes, was just like, without overthinking, who seems the best at spaceship battles? Okay, and the options were Imperium of Man,
yep,
Asuryani, Necrons, and Tau Empire.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we're going to end it. Actually, if you haven't voted, 90 seconds, quick vote. Brett, you think about your thoughts on this.
Spaceship battle. Like, what do you need to be good at spaceship battles? Like, what skills are important in spaceship battling?
I mean, right? I mean, good question. I mean, technology is probably the big one, right?
Yeah. Or is Necrons an option? Yeah, I think
Necrons is an option.
Yeah. I feel like not having to breathe is an important, like, makes you better just sort of by default at spaceship battling.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever see The Expanse or read the book?
You've talked about it, but but no.
Okay. One of my favorite parts of The Expanse is how they depict spaceship battles. And in theory, they're like, quote unquote realistic. And everybody in The Expanse puts on a spacesuit before they go to fight.
Right, you were telling me about this.
Because as soon as somebody puts a railgun round through your hull and your ship depressurizes, like, you don't want to just instantly die and lose the battle the first time a pinpoint hole compromises your hull.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like not requiring oxygen
is a good
and then that would lead me towards voting for Necrons.
Inevitably, as you're running around doing things on the inside of a spaceship during a fight, being in your natural state would be better than being in any kind of spacesuit.
Right, exactly. That's I guess that's my point.
Because when you get sucked out, it's not just that you need something to help you breathe. You also need some kind of pretty intense suit to protect you from the weather.
The weather and the cold.
And of course we know the Asuryani have the perfect suit for that, and it's lets them move around really, but still it's not as good, right?
It's not as good, yeah.
It can't possibly be as good.
And a Necron probably just in the same way that I imagine Necrons are good at, and they've been around for a long time too, so they've got it figured out, right?
Okay, so yeah, I think the split's pretty good. I gave people some more time to vote. No one voted. We're at 39. That's good. Everyone has made their peace with this. Anyone would change their vote? Okay, it's going to be too late. I'm hitting end poll. All right, here we go. Ending the poll. I feel like this is a pretty good split. The Asuryani win.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I'm curious if the people who voted for Eldar have played either as or against Eldar in BFG. They're super good in the game. Yeah. They're super good in the game. But they have some really weird rules. Eldar spaceships in BFG are essentially sailing ships. They have these giant solar sails, and they sail around the galaxy, which is weird to me. Like, if you had an engine that could push you in any direction, wouldn't you just use that?
Well, I guess
it works better than engines.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, so I would love to, I'm guessing I would love, you showed me, I painted a big one.
You did, yeah.
To match my Saim Han. I would love to paint an Eldar
as
well, to match my Saim Han. Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I'm going to come right out of the gate and say, I think the worst at space battle would be Imperium of Man.
Would be humans, yeah.
Yeah, now, I have a few reasons for this. And first, I understand that they are iconic in Battlefleet Gothic, of course, like the Imperium often is, right? Their style is the apex of grimdark, blah, blah, blah. So I get all of that. But the reason I think that they wouldn't be very good is because they're really not very good at anything, honestly. And that's technology-based.
Right, sure.
They tend to be kind of lucky, or they have things set up in a very particular way and they know how to use it. But in a world where some stuff goes wrong because your ship is getting hit in weird ways with weird things, not understanding your technology from the ground up is a nightmare.
It's a problem.
It's a big problem. Also, and Asuryani have this weakness too, but they, again, like you're pointing out, Necrons are designed for this. Also worth pointing out, Tau Aircast, literally biologically designed for evolved for this. So there's this weird which I think people did not think about, our fans did not think about, our 39 fans, few of our 39 fans thought about when they put Tau in last place here. Tau Aircasts actually don't fare well even on ground. Many of them live their whole lives in low gravity.
Right.
They're literally designed for
They've evolved for low gravity, but also their spatial awareness skills are much greater. They can sort of think in 3D, if that makes sense.
In Aeronautica, there's a space marine chasing some lore of a space marine chasing a barracuda, and the phrase that they use is that they make heretical movements that shouldn't be allowed.
Right.
Like that, like they do like a turn and do Gs. They do Gs that even a Space Marine can't handle.
Right.
So I think that Tau got an unfair rap here in our vote. So I truly believe, and I was saying during while I was painting my cities of Sigmar, I was saying I don't always like the context of like, oh, humans are not good at things compared to aliens, right? What are humans good at? But the Imperial Man in 40K really is not good at things. like
Yeah.
it's quantity, right?
They've got a lot of spaceships. They've got a lot of resources. Right. Yeah. They just kind of throw unending waves at you.
Which I guess is its own type of quality.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
What would you vote, Brett? Necrons?
I think Necrons. Your point about Tau is valid. They are, like all things in like many aspects of lore, they're limited by their own inexperience in a lot of ways, right? Like as soon as Tau sort of figure out whatever the problem is that they're trying to solve, they're going to do really well at it. And so like they're figuring out space travel. They've come a long ways, but they're not quite there yet.
Do they also not? They don't quite have warp drive.
They don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is an issue.
That's a problem.
But don't they? Do they not like now in the like some of the more recent lore have their own kind of like way of? Did they? Or am I incorrect on this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They do these short hops through the warp, and then they make use of pre-existing wormholes that are it's a little troubling, like a portal just kind of pops up in your neighborhood of space and you're like, all right, I guess we're going to go through it now.
right, okay.
But once they've gone through it and they figured out where the other side is, they set up fortifications there and protect it, and it becomes this stable way for them to transit large distances.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they have some kind of Joplin like just walked right behind you.
Yeah, he's hanging out.
He knows I'm the one that can let him out, although he's not sure that you have the capability to open a door. But if Meg's listening, she'll hopefully help us out with Joplin. He'd like out. Anyway, I do grant, and Polychrome brings this up, that they don't have the best, kind of like technology as far as longer distance space travel, I guess, goes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't figured out. I mean, the warp is important, right, for space travel, and the Tau struggle there. But once they're like actually fighting you, like getting there is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But once they're actually fighting you, they're going to do a number.
Now, so I've often kind of made this comment that 40K is this interesting story of civilizations, right?
Yeah.
And these are the four civilizations, really, right? Necrons, space elves, humans, and then Tau in that order, right?
Right.
And Necrons and Asuryani or Eldar in general have both kind of had their arc of, and Necrons are resurging now, like re-arcing, and but the point is that the three factions other than Tau have all sort of had their hey, we run the galaxy moment, right?
Right.
And so you would think that I would think that Tau probably are not the best at that, right? Because that is probably key. Them in last place does sort of overall honestly probably make sense because they've not quite had their we run the galaxy moment.
Yeah.
And I think that they're probably related. When they can travel more fluidly, they might have their.
Yeah, I don't
know if the game lore will ever go there, but one could imagine that happening, right?
I don't. I agree. I don't think they deserve to be in first place.
Correct. But yeah, I would imagine that, and our fans agreed, that either Necrons or Asuryani would.
Graham mentions that Necrons don't use the warp. I guess I don't know how Necrons, like, do they have an FTL? They just have an FTL drive, right? Is that how it worked? Yeah, because their ships can become massless. This is how the Necrons move so fast in the tabletop game. So their ships can become massless, which presumably means that so it allows them to turn really quickly.
Okay.
Because they have no
Mass.
inertia.
Right. Okay.
It's called an inertialess drive, I think. But I think that means that they can also just turn their engines on and given enough time and enough power, just reach. Actually, if you're massless, you travel at the speed of light, right? That's just you just are traveling. You push it and it goes infinitely fast instantly.
Right. I mean, I think.
Yeah. So that's how the Necrons get around. So I think they just go really fast naturally.
So this is like the Tau then want therefore they want to learn how to do this because they don't want to mess with the warp.
Right. Yeah, nobody does, right?
Right. So really, I mean, I guess I guess Eldar feel pretty okay in it.
I don't know how you can do that with an organic body though.
Yeah, maybe. I guess that's the limitation. Yeah. Anyway, I thought about this morning and was kind of curious what our fans would think. Who should be the best at space battles? I didn't include orcs. I'm sure I'm going to catch some flack for that, but I'm assuming they're not that great at it. But they do have big numbers.
Yeah, orcs are interesting in BFG. So in BFG you have to take a leadership test to go on special orders. Anytime you want to go all ahead full or reload ordnance or brace for impact or any of these sort of special things you want to do, you have to take a leadership check. And one of the options one of the orders you can go on is called all ahead full. And you go faster at the expense. You basically redirect power to your engines, right?
Okay.
And you must go on all ahead full to ram somebody. Ramming is part of the game. You can ram ships. And remember, it's like I said this at the start. It's basically a naval game.
Mm-hmm.
Orcs do not need to take a leadership check to go on all ahead full for the purpose of ramming, which is very orky. And it's in the lore and the fluff. They describe it as orc command decks. They've got all the controls, and then there's just a big red button, and they just like push the big red button,
and all the just smash into something.
They just go all ahead full. Yeah, they don't need to take a leadership check.
That's amazing.
Very orky.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Checks out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like I'm very excited to get into it a little bit. I like I always like the vibe when I leave, when I'm at a big event and I walk around and I check the vibe out at different smaller games.
Oh yeah.
I won't say that I think the vibe looks better than it does at an AOS event when I'm there.
Right.
But it's different. It looks different. I feel like I've seen the vibe look worse, and I feel like I've seen the vibe look better, but it's always different, one way or another.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever really thought about the BFG vibe, or the Aeronautica vibe, or the Kill Team vibe. Mostly, I've seen the vibe at historicals and been like, this doesn't look like it's for me.
I don't know. There's only a handful of BFG events around the world. It's not like because it's a
I don't know if I've ever seen one.
A dead game, an unsupported game. There's just not a lot of. Well, the communities that play it are small, but also as a result, there's not a lot of support for big events. I know Polychrome was saying that he attended one recently, which is cool. But yeah, there is one at Adepticon, which is why we're doing this today. I'll be at Adepticon in a couple weeks, and I'm signed up for the BFG event. And I did this last year and had an absolute blast. I had so much fun. It was a good vibe. It was cool to see the different fleets. I think especially for smaller games like this, even if you are able to either meet some people locally who play or talk some friends into getting started, you still end up with, a pretty small insular group of friends who play the game, And so your local meta is very specific. And so, locally it's Tau, Tyranids, Imperials, and Necrons. And so I don't get to play against Eldar. I don't get to play against Chaos really. I don't get to play against orcs really.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to just kind of get to play some games against some other people, some other fleets. It was a fun experience. I had a weird I had one weird game last year. The opponent was really nice. He was really good at the game.
Okay.
He clearly had. He told me that he had kind of spent a lot of time thinking about his list and the fleet.
Oh,
he
you
had
told me
brought.
about this, I think. Yeah.
And he had actually changed it at the last minute. He had changed his fleet at the last minute. And I don't know anything about the sort of larger BFG meta, but apparently Space Marines are very good. Space Marines are very good in the meta. And so he had brought a very specific tailored Eldar list, just like very specifically designed to beat Space Marines. And I'm sure he was a little bit sad to go up against Tau in his round one. But he sort of, he was a very strong player. And he was able, sort of at a glance, looking at my fleet, to sort of assess that I had an advantage in this game. And in order for him to win, he was going to have to do some like Eldar tricksery things. And the game is listed as being, I think, 8 turns or maybe 6 turns. I don't remember. Some very large number of turns that you almost never play. And the expectation is
kind of like Aeronautica, right?
Kind of like Aeronautica. And the expectation is that you just kind of play until one person is either dead, and then you stop, or you play until time runs out, and then you stop. And it's important that both players get an equal number of turns. So if you don't think you're going to get through both turns, you should just stop. And basically, he won the roll-off to decide whether or not he wanted to go first. He chose to go second. And then, so he knew kind of from the beginning of the game that he was going to get the last turn. And then he basically ran away from me for 5 turns. And on the last turn, when we had sort of, we were like, all right, there's 15 minutes left. We're only going to play one more round. I went. And then on his last turn, his whole fleet jumped out. He just hid. And his whole fleet exposed. He killed one battleship. And he won a minor victory on victory points. So he didn't accomplish any objectives. He just got a minor victory on victory points. And I had no sort of counter to it because his fleet was super fast and he could just run away from me the whole game. And part of me, initially I was like, I kind of felt bad about it. And I was like, this is like a bad game. And then I was like, no, he actually used the tools at his disposal. This was a competitive event. He used the tools at his disposal to his best advantage. I'm kind of okay with it.
What would you? But now you might not lose to that again, right?
Right.
There are things you could think of, I imagine just spreading out, pincer moving. You said he's hiding behind asteroids, right?
Yep.
There's got to be some way you can get some stuff on one side, some stuff on the other side, or whatever.
Yeah, and I just need to know, I need to. Yeah, I would. Yeah, there's things you could do to sort of deny him that final turn. Alpha strike.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah, I don't know. It was, and I, like I said, I don't really get to play against Eldar, so I also didn't really know what they were capable of, and that was a big learning experience for me. It was cool.
Cool. Well, maybe I'll get an Eldar fleet. I have seen the models. They look super cool. Yeah.
If you want to play annoying playstyle.
That's the thing I was going to ask you. Can you only are all their ships kind of like that, or can you build a fleet that's not super obnoxious and broken?
Yeah. I think so. Eldar thing is that they can move twice. They move and then they shoot and then they move again.
Oh, I like this.
And so they can either use it to move up, and their weapons are pretty short ranged, so they sort of need to. They sort of need to get close to do their thing. So you can either use it to move up, shoot, and then you can turn around and move away.
Okay.
So that's a thing you can do. Or if you want to sort of play it a harassment style. Or you could just move, not shoot, and then move again. So you can sort of move doubly fast if you're just trying to get from point A to point B. And that's mostly what he did for the whole game. And then, and then, except on the last turn,
where he moved,
blew the crap out of me, and then the game ended.
Nice. I mean, not really, but yeah. Huh. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. BFG is one of these like classic games that Games Workshop has done that from an era where GW loved tables. So if you've never played it before, if you enjoy looking things up on tables, like for example, if you like BattleTech, you will probably enjoy BFG. We have a picture here of what is the reference card, the quick reference card that comes in the box set from the original box set, and this is like the cheat sheet that they give you, and it's a two-sided thing. And you can see there the gunnery table, the infamous gunnery table, as well as the critical hits table.
Why is the table infamous? Here. Why is the gunnery table infamous?
All right. Let me explain to you how shooting works in Battlefleet Gothic.
Okay.
Zach.
Okay.
So if you look let's say that emissary in your hand has firepower, has let's say 6 railguns.
Okay.
So you would, and the way shooting works is you roll a number of dice equal to your firepower rating, and then you're trying to equal or exceed the target's armor value. So if the target has 4+ armor, you're trying to beat a 4+. If the target has 5+ armor, you're trying to beat a 5+. If the target has 6+ armor, you're trying to beat a 6+.
Okay.
So let's say you're shooting a target with 5+ armor, you have 6 railguns, and there's, like we said before, there's no saving throws in this game. You're literally just, if you score a hit, the target takes a point of damage.
Okay.
How many dice would you imagine you roll if you had 6 railguns?
6?
That's what you would think. But you first need to consult the table.
Okay.
So the gunnery table, it starts with the number of guns that you have. So we're going to look here on the table, and you have 6 guns. Let's say, wait, let's go to the camera. Let's switch to the camera view. All right. So we've got the hero here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to have a little lesson on BFG.
Okay.
So we've got the hero here, and he's shooting at the merchant. So the merchant is here, and they're coming at each other. The 2 ships are coming at each other. So we look at the table, 6 guns at a closing capital ship, which is what this is, only rolls 4 dice. So you would actually only roll 4. However,
wait, why?
Because the table says so.
Wait, what?
So if the merchant is perpendicular to the hero that's doing the firing, you can imagine the ship that's like moving sideways relative to your guns is harder to hit. So a capital ship. So now we're shooting at a capital ship that's a beam. So a beam capital ship only rolls 2 dice. Instead of the merchant, we're shooting at an escort. So the escort is small, and it's a beam. Now we're only rolling 1 die. So the number of dice that you roll is and then in addition to this, there are columns. You can modify the table. So if the escort is really close to you, it's easier to hit them.
Okay.
So you have a positive column shift. If the escort's really far away, it's harder to hit. So you have a negative column shift. If there's debris between you and the escort, if there's blast markers, then you have a negative column shift.
Okay.
There's all kinds of other ways you can affect. Eldar just have like weird hollow fields that give you a negative column shift. Okay, you can go back to the front. Okay. So there's all kinds of ways you can affect how you interact with this table. But it is kind of notorious for like this table.
This is the bottom part of the table.
The bottom part.
Okay.
It's a very integral part of the game is sort of referencing this table, and it's good that they. But then, like, when you cause damage, you can cause critical hits, and there's a table that you roll on. When you destroy a ship, the ship can be destroyed and explode in some catastrophic manner, and you roll on a table to determine all of that.
Okay.
So it's very table heavy game. One of the other sort of, you've been to Old Town Throwdown, and they have a cool laminated gaming aid that they give out as part of that event. If you go to Adepticon Battlefleet Gothic event, they give you this boarding actions cheat sheet. It's sort of, they're known for their boarding actions cheat sheet laminated document. It's double-sided, and this like very dense piece of paper with two sides of text is the shorthand version of how boarding actions work in BFG. It's like one of the most, you can see the table on this page. It's like there's all kinds of like this is the table of modifiers that you use to modify your boarding actions result. It's like a very chunky table based game, but you know, eventually you sort of figure it out. And it isn't quite as bad as you might think.
Yeah, I've played up here actually on our wall. We always look at this wall, and you guys have no idea why we're doing that. But I have Dreadfleet up there, I've always wanted to. One day we'll paint it up and we'll play it. But I've always kind of want to play like more naval-y games like this, so I'm kind of excited for that. I've played Dreadfleet before, and that's why when our friend Eric was selling it, I bought it from him because I actually thought it was pretty fun.
Fond memories, yeah.
It's
BFG is fundamentally a naval game. The third dimension is really kind of abstracted. It's really kind of a 2D game.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I was actually going to ask you. Is there altitude like in?
There is not.
Like in Aeronautica? No, okay.
The only real nod to that is with planets. You know, you can like sort of go over a planet because your spaceship is assumed to like be able to kind of fly up, essentially.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a fun game. It's the community is, you know, if you're into an out of print game, whether it's BFG or something else, you're familiar with like sort of this the passion that people have around their old out of print games that they
do you feel like playing against the Asuryani like it's not fun, like there's no way for the Asuryani player to make the list kind of okay or like not super broken, or
here's the thing, it's just skew. It's not broken. I don't think it's broken. I think it's just skew.
Okay.
So I think it actually in a small play group, it actually is not fun, because once you've played 2 or 3 games against it and you understand how it works and what its one weird trick is, you can just play in a way that negates their advantage. It's mostly about, I've never played against that weird skew, and now you're, you know, until I figure it out, it's gonna be oppressive. I'm not going to feel like I have any counterplay.
Do you feel, let me ask you this, do you feel like, this is a good question as we get close to the end here, do you feel like what you're describing is something I've kind of gone through with Beastclaw Raiders?
Yeah, okay.
We were talking about this a little bit, and I actually feel that I because of that, I got better with Beastclaw Raiders, because then I was kind of on the hook for figuring out how to beat players who knew what they were doing.
Right, yeah, sure.
And like next time you and I play, if we play Coalesce versus Beastclaw Raiders, I have to do that now against you, right? Like you and I played 2 games, and it was like, cool, okay, this, you know, I got my butt kicked by Zach's stupid ogres, and then last game we played, you wrecked me, and I was like, okay, cool, Brett knows what he's doing now. So now I actually have to kind of go back to the drawing board. And it may not be possible. I may not have the skills for it. Maybe it's very unlikely for the game. Maybe I'm relying on something crazy like double turning you twice.
Right.
Who knows? But do you ever wonder that, like, because I do feel like that has happened. I do feel like I was playing Beastclaw Raiders at a point where I thought I was playing good people who kind of knew what my army did. Yeah, but I still had some tricks, or like I would figure. And for me, it largely involved not starting the game till turn 3.
Right.
That's typically what I did to do well in tournaments. Is I don't engage with I run away. I max out my points for 2 turns and kind of try to surround them.
Right.
Or yeah. But that took a while to learn. First, I did the Beast Claw Raider thing. Then I started playing people who knew. I got good at that.
Destruction Army thing.
Right, I got good at that. Then I started playing people who knew.
Right.
And then I had to do this other thing, right? Like, that's how a good play group, a good wargaming should go.
Yeah, sure. No, I don't think it's bad. I think Eldar get a bad rap in BFG. Weirdly, there's also a lot of rock paper scissors in the armies, so the factions feel rock paper scissorsy, and Graham and I have talked a lot about this because he plays Necrons, and Necrons just absolutely dunk on Eldar.
Because they can go anywhere on the board.
Yeah.
And Eldar are fragile?
Eldar are super fragile. Eldar also don't have shields.
They're low. They're the low output on Necrons. This is actually the same with Aeronautica.
Yeah.
Because Necrons can keep up with their maneuverability.
Yep.
And they don't need to put out that much firepower.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like from a external balance perspective.
He's literally saying the same thing.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like I feel like Games Workshop was like, oh yeah, we'll keep Eldar, our balancing mechanic for making sure Eldar don't get out of controls. We'll just add Necrons into the game.
not a great balancing mechanic.
Yeah, but like if you don't play Necrons, like what do you do against it?
Yeah.
Not a great balancing mechanic, but interesting nonetheless. And from a tournament perspective, it makes it less attractive to play some of those things. But yeah, if you're just in a local play group and not doing a competitive event, I don't know what you do. So
other than maybe a little OSL on these, which I'm going to kind of not do too much.
Yeah.
I'm going to say these are pretty much done. And then I need to matte varnish them back down after the OSL.
Yeah.
So,
you want me to share where you're
Sure,
at?
yeah. We'll share the big guy because he is kind of the most. You can see. I've painted my towel more and more, I've kind of learned that less is more in the edge highlighting. Now he is glossy, he shouldn't be glossy. But you can see the edge highlighting is kind of selective. And we're not going to airbrush here on stream today. So you can see that it's kind of selective with the airbrush, with the edge highlighting. And so I'll do a little OSL on him, purple glow I do on these guys, and then that'll be that.
That looks great. Yeah, this is great. You can do...
I might do a couple more spaces.
Can do, black, the other thing that you might try is like picking out like some little lights or something.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, some red lights or blue lights or something. I don't know, that looks cool. I love it.
Yeah, it's nice and easy.
Do some engine glow or something. Yeah.
Like you said.
Yeah. I feel like this like command deck up here is like begging to have some kind of...
Do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. This looks great.
Fun. Thanks.
Awesome.
Nice and easy. It's fun to redo the towel scheme. I haven't done that in a while.
And I've been working on my little attack craft markers, just doing some edge highlighting on these. I'm tempted to do some stripes on these with the orange, which are my accent color for my 40K towel.
I also have more. You want to try to fit them on there? I have more of those decals. I might
try to do some of these.
More
little tiny ones.
Orange. Well, you know the ones I have.
Oh yeah, the little stripes. Yeah, that'd be perfect. The little tiny lines.
There you go. All yours. I thought you had taken these.
I have some. Yeah, I did take some.
Well, there you go.
Some of these little, like orange lines on the wings.
Yeah, that's from Stormcloud Attack.
Stormcloud Attack. Yeah.
I imagine Tau players are hunting those down all over the world.
This is my weird hobbying my hobby thing. So these attack craft markers, they get launched in waves of 4. And so I 3D printed my own bases, put a magnet in them, and then stuck them to this little piece of sheet metal so I can like move them around together. And then when one dies, I'll just like pull it off.
Oh, you got to paint that metal black though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Cool. Brett, we did it.
Fun.
Okay, folks.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
everyone.
thanks for joining us. Things coming up. Saray will be doing a Journeys on Friday. Saturday there will be a HS Sigmar game. Brett and John playing.
Yeah.
Saray producing.
And this is a new army for John, right?
No,
okay.
Still Soulblight. One more game of Soulblight. Yeah, the Flesh Eater Courts. I prioritized my own selfishness and did the Nighthaunt army to take the Rocky Mountain Open. But as soon as I get back, it's all Flesh Eater Courts. And Meg is working on Oshiron. So that will happen soon. Yeah.
FEC coming soon. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Thanks, Cass, for the gifted membership on the way out.
Thank you, Cass. Yeah.
I think that's it. I think we did everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Folks, as we say, be kind to each other, be kind to yourselves, always be creating. Polly, thanks for the 5 gifted memberships. Also, right at the end. We appreciate it, guys. We're dancing. We're dancing our way out. Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.